It's the off season. The NBA started. The World Series is here with the Los Angeles Dodgers versus Toronto Blue Jays. And here we are talking about the WNBA because anytime the WNBA gets mentioned, and also Caitlin Clark gets mentioned, it draws news, it draws conversation, and people have to talk about it. It is, whether people want to admit it or not, the hottest league, sports league in all the sports. And I know the NFL is going on, I know the NBA is going on, but when I say hottest league, when I say conversation, when I say people talk about the WNBA, unlike they have ever talked about the WNBA before, it's largely due to Caitlin Clark's draft class, Caitlin Clark herself, and those conversations. Now, when you think of Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball player. She's become the biggest pawn in everybody else's game. She's become arguably the biggest American athlete outside of LeBron James and Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant. But when people mention her name, it's going to get clicks, it's going to get viewership, and it's going to get conversation. And even sometimes it's going to bring into a lot of debates. People either love her, they either hate her. But one thing's for certain, they all try to use her name to push whatever agenda they want to push on a daily basis, whether it's in a positive way or a not so positive way. It all spins Caitlin Clark into whatever storyline people are trying to create. But I think the issue with that is that most of the time, nobody wants to give Caitlin Clark credit when credit is due or the credit that she overall deserves. So when you have these conversations, you hear these arguments and you hear people coming out and talking about Caitlin Clark, when it comes to the potential lockout, when it comes to the WNBA Players Association, it's kind of, you have to kind of question it a little bit. You start thinking about, well, is this genuine or is this not genuine? Why is this happening right now? Why are we coming out saying this again? But people are smart. People are intelligent. They know when they say Caitlin Clark's name that things are going to be brought up and things are going to be possibly addressed and things are going to get viewership, whether that's on social media, whether that's in television, whatever form of media that people are using. And for today, we got Collar Fee coming out stating again a conversation that's drew a lot of people in and made a lot of people want to talk about the WNBA and also talk about Caitlin Clark and everything that is going on. Because when we talk about the WNBA and when we talk about what is happening, a lot of times we are talking about, is it going to be a lockout? We're talking about, is there going to be WNBA basketball next season? But we're also talking about the potential pay issue in the WNBA. And Collars came out and she has talked about, well, she has suggests, Collars came out and basically suggests that Kathy Engelbert, that she suggested in a private conversation how Caitlin Clark's endorsement is tied to the success of the WNBA's platform. That was the first time Collar came out, and it drew storylines, it drew conversation, it drew debates, it drew all these things, right? And it led to a lot of people viewing Kathy as a horrible commissioner of the WNBA. Even we saw her at the WNBA finals, and the fans had definitely were booing her when she was trying to give out the finals MVP award to Aja Wilson and also just the champions of the Las Vegas Aces. The energy that she's receiving, even though she's done a lot of great things for the league in general in comparison to the last commissioner, but it's definitely feels like the players and the fans are always, at this point in time, are on the player side. And the player side is the Caitlin Clark, it's the Collars, the Aja Wilson, it's the Angel Reeves, and it's also the fans are supporting and want the players to get paid. And I'm not talking about the social media trolls. I'm not talking about the people that are sexist and misogynistic that are going to get on and talk about they're already paid for what they work. They should be grateful. I'm not talking about those idiots. I'm not talking about the people that try to make athletes a pawn in their political narratives or views. I'm not talking about those people. I'm not talking about the people that like to do the race baiting when it comes to pinpointing athletes against each other based on trolls in both respective fan bases. I'm not talking about those people. That's not who I'm talking about. But essentially, she came out and said that Colin said it makes sense that players like Caitlin Clark can generate hundreds of millions in value for the league, yet earn less than $1 million a year. Colin said it makes no sense that players like Caitlin Clark can generate hundreds of millions in value for the league and yet earn way less than $1 million a year. So this brings into a question of why I originally stated that whatever this new deal, when they're talking about the $850,000 max and the $300,000 vet minimum, I said it seems like progress, but it's not necessary progress. It's a slight pay increase, but doesn't change the overall landscape of the WNBA because of inflation, because of is it going to be tied to certain performance incentives? Is it going to be tied to them getting guaranteed contracts? Is it going to be tied to some type of revenue share? Collier is intelligent. Collier is brilliant, and she's playing this the right way because regardless of how you feel about Caitlin Clark or not, Caitlin Clark's name draws a lot of attention. She is, to me, other than Asia Wilson, of course, for the basketball side of things, the face of basketball. When we talk about popularity, when we talk about potential to grow the game, when we talk about overall impact and also international appeal, Caitlin Clark is definitely the face of the WNBA. So Collier's going to use that because at the end of the day, Collier and the rest of the WNBA players have to use Caitlin Clark because Caitlin Clark is one of the reasons why potentially they're going to be able to get the things that they want done. So the amount of money that Caitlin Clark has made this league is insane. She's getting 0% of it because we have no revenue share. The amount of money that Caitlin Clark has made the league is insane. She's getting 0% of it because we have no revenue share. Zero. She gets less than $80,000 a year. She's bringing in like hundreds of millions of dollars. It's insane. This is the quote. This is the glue. This is what everybody is talking about. This is what is going to generate that conversation. This is what is going to generate people like, yo, this is kind of crazy. And those are perfect examples of the pay caps. Caitlin Clark's drive record-breaking viewership in college and the pro game. Her college fan base and her stardom has translated seamlessly to the program. That transition has been very impactful. We're talking about major revenue growth, ticket sales, sponsorships, merch. Clark is number one. We're talking about new fans, new eyes on the league for the WNBA. A lot of that has to do with Caitlin Clark. Despite that, the salary compared to the money that she's generating, nobody is Caitlin Clark is not getting, and none of the rest of the basketball players in the WNBA are benefiting as well due to the structural issue of the revenue sharing, which is what Collier has brought into play. So, and also what is very different than the NBA for its like the revenue sharing, which brings in a bigger question is this growth due to Caitlin Clark alone or the whole league? And that's what the owners are going to say. Well, it's because of Caitlin Clark. Well, the players are going to say it's because of Caitlin Clark in the entire league. So the reality of the fact is the owners aren't right, but it's the players that are right. The reality of the fact that this growth, this impact is due to Caitlin Clark, but it's also due to the league as well. So people are going to say, is Caitlin Clark underpaid or is everybody underpaid? The truth of the matter is everybody is underpaid because viewership growth in the league was trending upward prior to Caitlin Clark entering the WNBA, and also that viewership and ratings were still trending upward in the regular season, in the postseason, also in the WNBA finals, despite Caitlin Clark being out for most of her sophomore campaign. So Clark is the engine for us all this. But other players are essential parts of the car when we talk about the growth of the game. So yes, Caitlin Clark is the one that's going to draw the headlines. Yes, Caitlin Clark is the one that's going to help push things through and move the needle. But everybody else is just as important. And also, Caitlin Clark's legacy depends a lot on the growth of the entire league. Her legacy is not just her being a great player and not just going out and having that baby goat potential and going out and maybe becoming the goat someday or the goat of her generation. Who knows what's going to happen? But she has that possibility to do so. But also, her impact on the entire WNBA is going to be extremely important, extremely in value due to the overall growth of this league. She is a turning point. The argument isn't just about Caitlin Clark, though. It's about all the players being undervalued. So the collective bargaining, the media rights, the sponsoring deals, making this a league-wide opportunity is very, very important because, once again, yes, Caitlin Clark is the engine, but the other essential parts are the rest of the players that make the car run just as smoothly. Caitlin Clark's legacy could mirror something similar to Michael Jordan in the NBA. When we talk about a player that has GOAT-like potential and has a game that can transcend her entire generation and also go off to do very, very great things on the basketball court. But MJ was also the engine for global growth as well, which is something similar to Caitlin Clark can do. So that's when we talk about that MJ and that's when we talk about that legacy portion for us, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, if she performs on the basketball court, if she meets and taps into all her potential, if she becomes a top 5 to top 10 basketball player on the WNBA side of all time, I feel like that's a boom or bust for her. She has to be a top 5, top 10 greatest basketball player on the WNBA side. It's boom or bust for that. She can surpass that, but it's kind of similar to LeBron James coming into the league where those expectations are so high that that's what it is because of the potential is so high. And we know LeBron James not only went out and became and met those expectations, he surpassed them. Hopefully, Caitlin Clark can do the same. But for our legacy impact, Caitlin Clark is very similar to Michael Jordan, that she has a chance to really help a league grow tremendously and become potentially international, similar to what Michael Jordan did, growing the game on the American side, then pushing it to become international. And Michael Jordan is synonymous with when we talk about the NBA. Clark is in the position to do the same thing with the WNBA. Her individual stardom can grow the entire WNBA ecosystem. If the WNBA continues its upward trajectory and growth due to Clark's help of Clark's influence as being seen as the catalyst, as the one that helped push the league to a new level, then that's going to help her overall legacy as well. That's going to help the game as well. That's going to help everybody get paid what they deserve as well. So Collier is extremely smart for doing what she is doing. But the thing I want to say is Caitlin Clark is the pawn in everybody's game because you have Collier, you have the players, they all want something for Caitlin Clark. You have the owners, they all want to try to act like it's only Caitlin Clark. Then you have the fans who either support Caitlin Clark and know her impact, but also you got some fans that are against Caitlin Clark because of certain things that goes beyond the basketball court due to trolls and non-really basketball fans trying to use her name for political gains and stuff like that. So the key question is, what's going to happen? So it's going to be interesting to see, but I think it's going to be very, very, very fun to see what's going to happen with this WNBA, CBA, if they're going to make a deal or not. It's your boy, Mark Smith. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Chat, tap in. Appreciate y'all. You already know. Faith without works is dead. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean out into your own understanding. Always acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. It's your boy Ahmad K. Smith. The game is the game. It is what it is. You already know how I'm coming, and appreciate y'all.